you are doing.
Okay, so let me just rearrange my screen to make sure that everything is working. Do you see my screen?
Sure. Yes.
Awesome. So I'm just going to put it here. First of all, thank you very much, Nicholas, for having us. I think it's a great opportunity to introduce some of the work that I've been doing at Higharc and also meeting new people. So I'm just going to start and correct me if I'm wrong, but I have like around 15 minutes. Am I right?
Yes,
Okay, I'm
exactly.
just going to make sure that I'm staying in within that time frame. So hello, everyone. I'm Ardavan Bidgoli. I'm a PhD in computational design from CMU. And right now I'm working at Higharc as a senior machine learning engineer. And I'm part of a small group that we have in the company called Special Projects, which is dedicated to exploring what are the new possibilities that machine learning brings into the home building industry. So I'm going to organize my presentation in three sections. First, I'm going to introduce you to Higharc. Then I'll explain some of the new features that we just recently released. And at the end, just to match the theme of the conversation here, I'm just going to explain some of the ideas in the realm of generative AI in the field that can be explored further by other researchers or other people who are interested. So Higharc is basically working to solve a problem in home building. You know that in design and building process, there is this workflow in which you need to do produce documents, go through the procure, sales and marketing should be aligned with you, and then you have the construction team. But this is not a one-way street. It's actually a kind of like a back and forth process in which different people have different ideas, different words to say, and it means that you need to go all the way back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and get a lot of comments to incorporate their ideas, their point of views, and their edits. But the problem is that we are working with static plans. These are dumb documents that are usually in form of PDF. They're not sometimes searchable. They're not dynamic. If you change something in that workflow, you need to go back all the way to the beginning, edit the file, then manually propagate those changes all the way across the process. And this actually holds us back, costs us time, costs us money. And on top of that, the product data, financial project data, and customer data are not combined together, not connected to each other. So there is a static document, and then there is fragmented data across the platform. So Higharc is trying its best to solve this problem. In order to do so, we have this idea of transforming drawings into live data that can be propagated from the drawing table all the way to the construction document. So if you change something in the workflow based on the feedback from the construction team, from the design team, from the financial people, that you need to adjust something, you can do that, and it's going to automatically propagate all the way across. So your building team is going to be aware of that. It's going to be incorporated in the construction drawings. And also your sales team is going to be aware of that. So it is going to solve that problem of fragmented and old format of data by converting them into live data. Now, how we do it, we have suite of like different products. The flagship that I like the most is the studio. You see it on the left side. It is the place that you can do the design and also implementation, and you can introduce different options and different configuration into a house. So basically, it's going to give you a lot of flexibility, and then it brings the data on the cloud in our single source of truth that communicates with the rest of products that we have here. For example, we have estimation tool, just basically give you list of material, the cost and everything is included here. So as soon as you edit something in studio, you will immediately get back the price reflection. The construction data is also something that we produce at the end of this pipeline that just actively get updated. And in order to make the whole pipeline complete and having the user and buyer experience properly here, we have sales and marketing interface, which we call it Showroom. And then we also have slightly separated from this, very seamless progress. We have these interior walkthroughs and visualization service. And I would like to ask you to pay attention a little bit more to these two types of visualization that we have here, the walkthroughs and streetscape, because I think there's something really important here that I'm going to get back later on through this presentation. So just pay attention to the level of details we have here and the level of fidelity that we have compared with the original drawing. So this is basically what we do. We make sure that we have a single source of truth that everybody who has a word in the process can actually incorporate into the development of that one, and everybody be on board. Then I joined the company around 2 years ago, and for a period of time we were thinking about what would be the proper application of machine learning into our pipeline to add value to our user, rather than having something that's nice to have. So we've done a lot of brainstorming. We talked to our clients, we talked to the team that we have in-house, and we came with this idea of what if we can translate these dumb drawings. By say dumb, it's not disrespect. I just want to mention that it is not active. So it's just like a piece of paper or raster drawings to live data that we have in our studio. And our studio uses a lot of explicit AI, the old school rule-based system to convert a room into the whole BIM system. But we wanted to see if it's possible to use machine learning to make it a little bit more easier to go through this process. So going from static drawings into live 3D BIM model. So we started to work on 3 main features that are just basically loaded with machine learning to do their job. The first one is basically, if you want to implement any plan, is to figure out what is the scale of a drawing. And this is an example. This is the latest version that I just recorded this one around 20 minutes ago for you guys. You can see that we have a complex drawing with a lot of details, and we just hit AutoScale. It reads the document, figure out what are the scale. And if I zoom in, you can see that that line is like 20 feet. And I measured that one, and you can see it is 20 feet. And the extra fraction at the end, like half an inch, is just basically the level of detail you can go based on the pixels. It has some limitations into it. If there is a drawing line, it's going to be super accurate. If there's no drawing line, it's dimension line. It can infer the scale from objects, and it even can read the text inside the document and figure out what is the proper scale. But when you have a dimension line, it is 99.9 accurate. And I'm so proud of that one. Then we have AutoLayout. So basically the whole idea here is if you have a drawing of a plan, doesn't matter if it's a construction drawing, is it a brochure data, or even a nicely drawn hand drawing, is it possible to convert it into the representation that we have in our flagship software studio? And we work on this one for a while. It is a very time-consuming process because we needed to take care of the data pipeline. We had to label the data, train models, and integrate it in our workflow. And right now, it's capable of doing a task like this one. I'll show you a demo a moment later. But it not only recognizes the boundaries of the rooms with walls, but also figures out what type of room is that. Because, for example, if you want to do some estimation based on this tool, you need to figure out if this room that you are measuring is a kitchen or a bedroom. There are different costs for each one. So this does the job for us. And one part that I'm really, really happy with is that it doesn't need to see any wall between the room. For example, if you have a living room and if you have a dining room and they are like in an open plan, it still can recognize and distinguish between them and put a boundary between them. And the last feature that we have here is called AutoEntity. Just basically looks at the document and I see toilets, I see sinks, I see doors, windows, and it's going to put them in the right place for us. Together, all these 3 are called AutoTranslate, and it reduces the time that you need to do the initial implementation from maybe hours into seconds. And like any other product that's in the development phase, it is not the perfect solution. Right now, it has some issues. I'm just going to show you this demo here, and just to clarifying that this one is not cut. It's just like one single video that you see here. So first, I just scaled this model. And then I actually measured later on. I realized that, for example, the bedroom at the bottom, which is 13 feet and 4 inches, is actually right now in this drawing scaled into 13 inches and 13 feet and 3 inches. So we have like a small error. And you can see that it actually recognizes all those rooms. And there are some small errors, like, for example, the boundary of this garage is not correct. But I can edit that one in a matter of like a fraction of a second. But and also it's using one of our earliest models. So right now we are even more accurate compared with this one. But because we have this studio system behind this, as soon as I give it the boundary of the rooms plus the label of the room, it automatically populates a lot of information about it. Again, pay attention to the fact that, for example, the cafe and gathering rooms are basically one big space, but it recognizes that they are different rooms. And then I use the AutoEntity to place, for example, toilets, cabinetry, and doors and windows. Again, it recognizes most of this stuff, but there are some errors. For example, the garage door was not there, but it was recognized. It's just a matter of fine-tuning our process. So to be clear, this is a feature that we think has a lot of potentials. First, in quick implementation and allowing people who are not very accustomed to design softwares to actually be part of this conversation. So if you want to have some design sketch at the earliest stages and then just see what would be the price for that, or you want to see like what are the assessment or estimation, you can do it. If you want to just quickly implement something in order to share it with someone else, this is going to give you this option. We had even lower fidelity drawings, like hand drawings, that it was working. The QR code that I had on that slide gives you the link for another video that Michael Bergin, my manager, actually provided a couple of weeks ago. And you can see that even a child drawing is properly working with this workflow. So this is what we are doing. But if you want to think about how generative AI, or to be more specific, generative machine learning at the moment, is going to play what type of role in AEC, I would say there are some new horizons that we can look at. I cannot confirm or like deny that if you are working on these topics or not, but these are some of the topics that I see floating around, and I think there is value in each of them. Just to be clear, whatever I showed you recently, like in the previous slides, they are mostly discriminative AI. Means that you have an object, you have one input, and you figure out what is the label associated with that one. When we are talking about generative AI, it means that you are going to generate new material, for example, text and everything. So I think the first level, maybe low-hanging fruit for Gen AI in the AEC tech is to use it for low-fidelity vibe checking visualizations. The reason that I'm talking about this one is like if you're selling a house based on the visualization that you have, and you show that there is this doorknob here on the door, and then sell people something else, it's going to be a problem. So if you want to just make visualizations with low fidelity, just to give the people who are seeing it a kind of like a vibe about what's going on, these models are pretty great. Right now, there are some that you can run on different platforms through APIs, do in-painting, style transfer. That's actually really great. I think there is a lot of potential there. And the other thing is taking care of data processing. And basically, if there is a piece of data that's not structured, it's not in the proper format, it's coming, for example, in a printed catalog of this vendor, and you want to bring it into your system or like organize it, these new large language model, and to be honest, large is not doing enough. It's like massive language models with a huge context window that can basically allow you to dump thousands of pages of material into them and then ask them to process it. I think there's a lot of potentials there. Think about it. If you could dump and process design code in an area and then convert it into something, a tabular data set or vectorized data set that allows you to do quick search and whatever you hear recently about RAG systems. And then the one that I think has the most potential here is agent system or agentic systems. Basically, semi-autonomous pipelines that can receive an objective and follow steps using different API calls or like different tools that's available to them in order to accomplish a task. And if I want to give you a really simple example here, let's think about this scenario. You are in the sales team. A buyer comes and says, I want to buy this house, but I don't like the windows. I want them to be matching the standard of like blah, 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 blah. And then you don't know what to do. You need to actually get back, find those windows and like update them in your system. An agentic system, potential agentic system, can actually get this description, like the in the format of language, like what we talk, and then figure out what are the requirements, what are the steps that it should take. Probably it's going to do some online search, figure out which vendor is actually making these windows, and go to their website, pull the data about the manuals and the data sheets, goes through an API call to a 3D model system and just make the 3D asset for that one, make API call to the studio to figure out like how can I update that window with something new, and then from there the whole pipeline of the studio is going to update the construction drawings and estimation and everything. And at the very same time, it can actually handle for example, figure out like what is the relevant part of these PDF files that it found about installation of these windows. So rather than spending a lot of time with different people and eventually say that, okay, I'm not going to do it, you can have an agentic system to take care of all these steps for you. So I think these three are, and I think they are on the level of complexity I ordered them, are the potential futures of Gen AI in AEC from the point of view of someone who is more inclined towards the technical side. And with that, I'm just going to wrap up and thank you all.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ardavan. Extremely insightful and informative. I really enjoyed. And a quick question for you. So who are the main clients of Higharc right now? So contractors, builders, architects, or
So
all of the
basically,
above?
the business model that we have is to work with builders, and specifically builders who are making above a certain threshold of homes per year, because it makes more sense for them to save money and time and human resources when they are switching into Higharc. It saves a lot of time. The implementation time is, with the tools that we are providing, is quick, but the benefit that comes with it is massive. And it makes sense for people at the moment who have maybe like above 500 homes per year. But in the future, we may actually think about it slightly differently. You see that one of the theme that I mentioned is that it is easier for everyone with different level of experience to work with our product. So there's a potential in the future to go for smaller and maybe smaller home builders or individuals, as you mentioned.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We'll get
Sure.
back to you with more questions at